Oh, hello there. Yes, well, good grief. Nippy, innit, eh? Go. Anyway, I've been rather lucky for the last 2 days. I haven't actually had to venture outside. Very sensibly me. Unfortunately, today I do have to go out. Never mind, I will put on a sensible cap. Oh, yes. Anyway, today I thought we'd venture back into the deep and murky waters that are the shallow territory of Allison Pearson, who has decided, I think, with the backing of the Daily Telegraph, to dig her heels in, because after all, we can't have the police deciding what's illegal in this country, can we? But this appears to me to be so indicative of a particular class of people my age who really are snowflakes. By God, they don't like young people who are, wilting little flowers at things that happen to them. But the piece yesterday in the Telegraph really does take the biscuit, so we're going to dive into that. And then I'm going to make a more general point about people like Allison and the class that she represents. Those media elites. Oh no, that's only Gary Lineker, apparently. Anyway, let's dive in. Allison Pearson, my week from hell shows that Britain we love and trust is gone. Yes. This must once and again be a fair and free country with a police force that solves actual crimes instead of imaginary ones. Yes, and we've got a very scary picture of, the police with the police word crossed out, because that's the kind of defunding thing that these people are into. And there's Elon Musk and Kemi and Nigel looking all sad, and they're all sad because Allison had to have something mildly unpleasant happen to her because of her own actions. How dreadful. Imagine something mildly unpleasant happening to you just because you're an unpleasant person. What kind of world is it, eh? Let's move on. The eye of the storm is a really scary place to be. Dark thoughts crowd in. You wince when you see your own name in headlines with terrible warning words like hate and racist. I wonder why. At the best of times, I shrink from fame. Cough, cough. Let alone fame's brazen sister, notoriety. No T in the capital N there. You rack your frantic brain in the small hours wondering, did I do something wrong? I know I didn't do anything wrong. Yeah, you did, Allison, but that's why the cops came round. Anyway, I cling to that knowledge like a shipwrecked person clings to a raft. Your fingers getting colder and colder and gradually losing their grip. Why not stop struggling and let yourself go under? I understand why people under this kind of pressure take their own life. Make it go away. Please just make it go away. Yes, rarely has hyperbole been hypered, eh? Good grief. You just got a knock on the door from the cops because you put up something racist. It's not the end of the world. If you're going to top yourself, one has to say about your own emotional fragility. White fragility, almost, one might say. But there again, that would be me being really horrible, wouldn't it? Anyway, diving in further, that's how this Kafkaesque process works. Yes, if it's not Orwell, it has to be Kafka, undoubtedly. Someone who probably hates my guts because I'm a conservative or a woman with a platform, or a woman, blonde woman conservative who sticks up for farmers or small business people or Jews, complains to the police about a tweet I posted. Yes, you see, Allison is a nice person because she sticks up for all the right people like farmers and Jewish people and small business owners. You notice the very selective group of people that encompasses, yeah? Anyway, leaving that aside, and the police don't ask, Sir, are you by any chance a lifelong Labour voter and possible Catweasel lookalike who can't stand gobby Tory women? Or have you been on any pro-Palestinian marches, and do you think Israel shouldn't exist? Yes, indeed, Allison, because that isn't what the law does. And anyway, Allison doesn't actually know who the person is that made the complaint to the police, because that's the way that one works. So what she's doing here, of course, is caricaturing them in ways that probably aren't actually true. But there again, she is the wronged party here, even though she's the one that did the wronging, one might say. They don't have to ask my accuser anything because he is immediately sanctified as the victim. You might start to see that there is a problem with that statement in terms of what she's writing. But moving on, a single complaint weighed against my 35 years of journalism. She's using that word very lightly there, with which millions agree. Yes, because you write propaganda for the ruling class, Allison. Yeah? That's what that means. So all those people that read the Telegraph, that basically hold the same fairly obnoxious views that you do agree with you. That isn't necessarily journalism, though. Is enough to send the police to your door. Oh, no. In a free society, cops at your door at 9:40 a.m. on Remembrance Sunday. Yeah, remember, because she was being all solemn in her slippers and dressing gown, telling you're in trouble over a social media post made over 12 months ago, while refusing to tell you what it said and whom it offended, should be unconscionable. It's stark staring bonkers, actually. Now, this is where Allison has decided to dig in, you see, because there is no way that this piece wasn't put before the Telegraph's lawyers. So they have obviously decided that they're going to face down Essex Police, who, you may recall from my own video a couple of days ago, are very adamant that they were acting completely as the law required and that she was actually told these various things. But she has decided that she knows better than their body cams, because obviously she's a sanctified, blonde, conservative woman who everybody hates. Just to paraphrase her own words, obviously. Contemptuous of Essex residents who don't really quite like an officer to come round and deal with a burglary or a car theft. Count yourself lucky if they send you a crime number. They prefer to focus on trans rights or investigating spurious non-crime hate incidents or racially or religiously motivated cases like the one I seem to be caught up in. Yes, because that's what exactly you did, Allison. Now, we know that all of those precious snowflakes, those precious middle-class boomers like Allison, really hate the idea that they might have to live up, to some form of responsibility for their actions. After all, she has to be right because of the colour of her skin and her hair, or something. I'm not really quite sure. Moving on. Yes. Really quite astounding. Really quite astounding. The level of victimhood that there is just because she posted something up that was racist. And don't forget that this involves her having a photograph of some people she didn't know, some coppers and a couple of blokes with a Pakistani flag, and she said they were Jew haters, which she has no evidence for whatsoever. Journalist Allison, whatsoever. Yes, because how dare the coppers stand next to British citizens brandishing a flag? How dare they? It's a free speech issue, standing next to somebody that she doesn't know, that has done something that she's imagining. Is that a crime? Well, yes, Allison, it is. But dear God, it's unbelievable that somebody feels that aggrieved. And of course it always comes down to, why aren't they catching real criminals? Well, people that break the law are real criminals. That's the definition of a crime, Allison. If you don't want to do the time, don't do the crime, eh? Yes, and anyway, yesterday on a similar vein, we had a deep dive from the Times with the new provost, or whatever it is, from Eton. VAT is a mistake. 100 Eton parents saying it's going to be difficult. Oh, God. Can you see there? It's going to be awful. Nicholas Coolidge, the former glossy magazine boss, has returned to his old school, this time as provost. Yes, which is a posh way of saying admin person. So what's the future for this institution that is educated 20 out of 58 of our prime ministers, and where parents will soon pay £63,000 a year? Oh, I don't know. I imagine it's all going to end in tears because the Labour Party have decided to put VAT on it. Well, yes, indeed. So, anyway, you can read this article for yourself. But what is basically what this guy is arguing is that certain parents who earn a very, very large amount of money to send kids at a school that charges £63,000 a year might have to choose to send their children to a slightly less expensive school because of VAT. Now, you can see how dreadful that is. And As he rightly points out in the piece, these people are right to feel aggrieved at the grinding heel of socialism that makes people change something in terms of their choices as to where to educate their children. It is really dreadful, the awful, appalling, catweasel-like nature of the communists that are seeking to grind us under with their, complaining to the police about racism, or indeed, actually getting people who have been used to not being charged VAT on things as basically a subsidy to their very, very, very well-off kids to actually get to play it. How awful. Awful, awful, awful. Boomer victimhood encapsulated. Why doesn't the world simply fit around us? After all, bad things are for poor people. Bad things don't happen to us, and when they do, we have the right to write very, 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 very long, whimpering articles in the Telegraph. Dear God. Anyway. Personally, some of us are going out to work today in the cold and just getting on with it and trying to make some form of lesser mess that people like Allison and the rest of them have been very, very happy to cheer on for the last 15 years. Sorry if I'm not feeling very sympathetic, but I think a lot of people, maybe not my readers, but maybe not her readers, that a lot of people would agree with me. Really, really don't want to hear it, okay? When you pump out that level of bile and propaganda against ordinary people whose lives I have to do my own little damnedest little bit to try and make better, I'm not feeling particularly warm towards such individuals. Oh dear, what a shame. Never mind. Do have a lovely day. If you can. Maybe not Allison, eh?